A little while ago, Theresa May decided that she was going to drop a few bombs. And the reason for this was the grotesque human rights violations and chemical warfare being done to Yemen. In the last few days, this morning especially on BBC, it was announced that Saudi Arabia had attacked Yemen yet again. So much death, so much destruction. It's horrible. What the BBC have failed to report on, which is one of the reasons why there was the BBC switch off on Friday, I believe, is that the Saudis were able to drop these bombs because Theresa May sold them these bombs. Now, I've said time and time again, in the last 2 years, Theresa May has only been focused on what will make her and her husband money. And I'm very insistent in reminding that most of the money made does go to her husband. It's not like Donald Trump, where foreign diplomats will go to America to sit down with the president as part of their job, and they'll be forced to go to Trump Tower, so Trump directly pockets that money. This money isn't directly going to Theresa May, but she is the wife of the man it goes to, and she is entirely responsible to where this goes to, which is a massive conflict of interest. Multiple millions have been made by Theresa May's husband because of Theresa May's political actions. The BBC refusing to report on all these little things again has shown an unbelievable bias and something that does mislead people. In the last 2 years, we've seen stories pop up saying that Russia had strong interference in the UK elections, not just the US. Of course, we don't know how much they interfered, as the Conservatives shut that inquest down. Cambridge Analytica and Facebook took a massive PR whack, and yet the mainstream media, like BBC, completely ignored the fact that the Tories paid out a massive amount to Cambridge Analytica to help them in the UK election. Theresa May has got blood on her hands because she is selling weapons to people who more or less continuously drop bombs on innocent people. This is not hyperbole. What happened in Yemen was incredibly predictable and has been repeated time and time again, and yet Theresa May still sold bombs to the people killing people. This is very different to selling weapons to someone who's trying to defend themselves. This is very different to the standard military contracts that we have. She knew, and everyone who was paying attention knew, that Saudi Arabia was going to use these bombs in the near future, and that children would be targeted, elderly would be targeted, and still she did it. Theresa May is unfit to lead this country. The Conservative Party, right now as it stands, is unfit to lead this country, and the Tories behind them are unfit to lead this country. Now, I'm not saying that will always be the case. Party political identity, I think, is a very silly thing. There could be a time in 10, 20, 50 years where they are the best party for the country. But right now, leading our country in the highest ranks of our government, we have a number of people who are silencing people affected by Windrush, who are destroying a public healthcare system, who are destroying education, who are destroying the institutions that keep us safe at night, who are selling arms to people actively murdering children, not in defense, not in conflicts that are unavoidable, but who are actively murdering people. We have a government who is lying at every single turn, and who unfortunately now line up more with white supremacists than doing their actual job. Theresa May needs to be called out on this constantly. There is no exception, there is no excuse that can be made for what she has done. Just because she didn't drop the bomb herself doesn't mean that she's innocent. If you give a psychopath a machine gun, knowing that they are a psychopath, knowing what they will do, then you are just as guilty for the lives taken as the psychopath. And Saudi Arabia, at every point, has shown that they are a murderous regime. Again, we deserve better than a bloodthirsty government who only cares about the wealthy.